Chapter 186, Hungry Zhu Lianzi. Inside and outside the Wangnu continent, regardless of whether it was the various islands or the countless forbidden zones, there were a large number of strange races. The Sea Corpse race was one of them. This race was located at the edge of the forbidden zone in the endless sea. Before the fragmented face of the god arrived countless years ago, there was no Sea Corpse race in this world. When the god arrived, his aura tainted and changed the course of all things. Some races disappeared from history, while others continued to struggle. At the same time, some new races were born. Among these new races, one of them was the Sea Corpse race. This race had strange characteristics. They could directly absorb anomalous substances. Moreover, they didn't have the ability to reproduce. The growth of their race and the increase of their clansmen depended on special methods. That was conversion. Their unique method could allow them to mark and revive the dead. The corpses that were resurrected after being marked had incomplete memories of their previous lives, like they were different people. Their personality would become violent, cruel, and bloodthirsty. Moreover, their bodies would emit dense anomalous substances that wouldn't be tolerated by the world. At the same time, the summoning of the Sea Corpse race would echo in their minds. This summoning guided them to the Sea Corpse race's territory, and they would become a member of the Sea Corpse race. They would cultivate the cultivation arts that belonged to the Sea Corpse race. This allowed them to gradually recover their intelligence and continue to grow stronger. However, the characteristics of this race made them even more heartless the more they cultivated. They would not care about their past. In addition, the higher one's cultivation was when they were alive, the stronger their combat strength would be after they were transformed. However, there were many restrictions to the transformation and the success rate wasn't high. Hence, this race didn't become a great calamity for the various races. And due to some special reasons as well, they were allowed to exist. Over the many eras, the Sea Corpse race had discovered that the success rate of transforming the corpses of human cultivators was relatively higher, so their focus was on the human race. As for the Seven Blood Eyes, they were located in the Nanhuang continent and weren't far from the Sea Corpse race's territory. Hence, the hatred between them became increasingly intense. Wars would erupt every once in a while. Now, with the help of the incident on Merfolk Island, the Sea Corpse race's army could arrive without any fear. As the vortex spread out, the 10,000-foot-long crocodile roared sinisterly and stepped in the air. Its body was already halfway out. The few figures above its head were all covered in black miasma. That was a manifestation of the dense anomalous substances. Under the envelopment of this black gas, their appearances couldn't be seen clearly. One could only see their red eyes in the black fog and their cultivation fluctuations that didn't seem inferior to the Merfolk ancestor. Noticing the arrival of the Sea Corpse race, the Merfolk ancestor laughed loudly. "Jun Kai, I want to see what other tricks your sect has up its sleeves. Then watch carefully." Old Master Seven's expression was as calm as ever. He took out an ordinary jade slip and threw it at the Sea Corpse race. That was currently appearing aggressively with endless baleful and anomalous substances. This jade slip flew lightly and arrived in front of the Sea Corpse race's army. Before it reached the Sea Corpse race, it collapsed and shattered on its own. The instant it shattered, the sky rumbled, as though countless thunder had exploded in unison. The entire sky caved in and cracks formed in the sky. These cracks were like dragons and snakes swimming around, passing through the sky violently. It looked like an invisible brush was painting in the sky. These cracks connected together and shockingly a gigantic figure was outlined in the sky. It was the figure of an old man. He seemed to have fused with the sky. His face was expressionless as he stared at the living beings below. Under his gaze, the sea stirred up unprecedented waves. Even the existences at the bottom of the sea hid themselves. All the sea beasts were trembling. Under his sweeping gaze, the Merfolk ancestor directly spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes revealed extreme horror. His body kept trembling and he actually knelt down. Under his gaze, the 1,000-foot-long crocodile that had walked out halfway wailed. Its rotting body seemed to be decaying faster, but it didn't dare to move at all. The figures of the several experts of the Sea Corpse race above its head also fluctuated intensely. Their bodies shivered uncontrollably. All of them spat out blood. Many of their army directly exploded. "Welcome, ancestor," Old Master 7th took a deep breath and bowed respectfully to the old man formed by the cracks in the sky. The other elders and foundation building cultivators in the surroundings were all the same. All of them lowered their heads and greeted loudly. The instant they greeted, the 7 Blood Eyes ancestor in the sky suddenly swayed. Immediately, the countless cracks that formed his body seemed to have separated from the sky and turned into reed threads. They moved toward the Sea Corpse race, which was in chaos right now. As the expressions of the Sea Corpse race cultivators changed drastically, these red lines rapidly enveloped them and passed through. The instant they passed through, it was as though they had devoured all the vitality as all the Sea Corpse race members withered. In an instant, the 1,000-foot-long crocodile's body disintegrated. The bodies of the several experts of the Sea Corpse race above its head withered and died. As for the army at the back, they also could not escape this calamity. They were all reduced to ashes by the arrival of these red threads. The massacre was finished in just an instant. However, these red threads didn't stop at all. They swept up terrifying fluctuations and headed straight for the vortex that the Sea Corpse race had walked out of. It was as though that place was their target. The vortex wanted to close, but it was too late. Before it could close, endless red threads surged in with greed and madness. At the next moment, the vortex disappeared. However, one could imagine that the other side of the vortex must be in an extremely tragic state. Now that the vortex and red threads had disappeared, the sky was clear again. The sea also regained its waves, as though nothing had happened. Only the withered corpses of the dead cultivators of the Sea Corpse race splattered onto the surface of the sea like rain. What do you think? Old Master 7th looked at the Merfolk ancestor, who was kneeling and trembling. Broke through the 7 Blood Eyes ancestor. Xu Lianzi 1 broke through. Zheng Kai, your 7 Blood Eyes target wasn't our Merfolk race. Your target is the Sea Corpse race. The Merfolk ancestor's eyes were filled with despair. At the side, the Sea Corpse cultivator, who was also enveloped by the water droplets, also felt as though his entire body was about to melt. His originally cold expression was now replaced by fear. Looks like you still have some brains left. My sect doesn't need to spend much effort on a mere Merfolk race. It's just that the ancestor is very hungry from breaking through, so I used you guys to bait the Sea Corpse race. I also have to thank your race for attracting the Sea Corpse race, allowing them to take the initiative to open the gateway for the ancestor just when he broke through and was hungry.